Unit 12, Rehabilitation and the Nervous System. The neuron is a nerve cell. This is the basic working unit of a nervous system. It sends and receives messages. It's involved in the thought process. It directs the functioning of glands, and it directs the movement of muscles. So if I am wanting to scratch my nose, this neuron will send a message to my muscles in my arm to be able to contract and bring my hand up to my nose to scratch it. Two main parts of the nervous system. There's the central nervous system, and that includes the brain and the spinal cord. The brain is approximately 3 pounds. It's the largest organ in the body, one of the largest organs in the body. And the spinal cord is responsible for sending and receiving nerve impulses through the spinal cord to the brain. The other part of the nervous system is the peripheral nervous system, the nerves that extend throughout the body from the spinal cord. So you can see all of the nerves that are branching out from the spinal cord. That is the peripheral nervous system. There are 3 main parts of the brain. There is the cerebrum, and that is the largest part of the brain. That's responsible for thought and memory. Then the cerebellum, that is responsible for balance. And then you have the brainstem or the medulla, and this is where the vital signs all happen. It's right in that brainstem. It controls the major functions like breathing, heart rate, blood pressure, swallowing, gagging, coughing, vomiting. All of that's controlled within the brainstem. The right side of the brain controls motor activity on the left side of the body, and then the left side controls the motor activity on the right side of the body. The spinal cord conducts messages between the brain and the body. It controls reflex activity. The spinal cord is about 18 inches long and connected to the brain. And when we talk about reflex activity, so like if you get dirt in your eye and you blink, that's kind of one of the things, or a ball's coming at you and you reflexively put your hand up to block it. The brain and the spinal cord are protected by bone, which would include the skull and the spinal column. Cerebrospinal fluid, this is like a shock absorber that it also delivers nutrients and eliminates waste. And then the meninges, and this is a protective membrane. I'm going to attach a video that I would like you to look at in D2L, and it is an autopsy of a fresh brain. And I think it's so fascinating because it really shows you just how mushy and vulnerable our brains are, how important the skull is, how important that cerebrospinal fluid is. When you work with a brain like in a laboratory setting of your biology class or something like that, they're kind of rubbery because they've been preserved. But this fresh autopsy brain video is really fascinating, and I think that it will make you think twice about wearing a helmet or something like that. Peripheral nervous system. This is the cranial and the spinal nerves. When we talk about the peripheral nervous system, there's 12 cranial and 31 spinal nerves, and it has something to do with the autonomic nervous system. So the sympathetic is the fight or flight, and the parasympathetic is what slows down. So that's also called rest and digest. And so you don't have to know what I'm going to tell you right now for the test, but I just find it to be fascinating. So fight or flight, here's kind of what's happening with your body. Okay, when you are in a period of acute stress or hyperarousal, your heart speeds up and your lung action increases. You get a shot of extra energy, which is an increase in adrenaline. Your heart rate, your blood pressure, your blood sugar, and the fats are all increased to help meet your energy needs. The pupils dilate and you have tunnel vision. So the pupils get bigger and you don't see things in your peripheral. You just see straight ahead of you, and that's a survival tactic. You have a loss of hearing, so it helps you to be more focused rather than hearing things that are going on around you. You have an increase in blood flow to the muscle and an increase in muscle tension, and this will help you to be able to run faster or fight harder, that kind of thing. The blood vessels are constricted, and this conserves energy to the major organs. Tears and saliva are inhibited during this fight or flight response. Blood clotting increases to prevent excessive blood clot and excessive blood loss. Digestion slows or stops during a fight or flight response, and the skin can pale or flush or alternate during this time. So I just think it's really interesting when you think about how the body reacts in order to try to protect you. Like the clotting factor increasing, I think, is amazing. So if you would get cut by a knife or something like that, it's supposed to help you from immediately bleeding out. So these are some of the things I think is very interesting. And then the rest and digest phase, this conserves the body's energy. So it's relaxation. The heart rate and the blood pressure lowers. The intestinal function comes back. That's kind of what's happening there. Okay, so you know the five senses. The senses are a part of the neurological system or the nervous system, so just be aware of how those senses help you in your day-to-day life and what sensory impairment might look like. So focusing on sensory impairment, we talk about hearing loss and vision loss. These are common sensory impairments that we see with our residents and can be issues we need to be aware of. And then lastly, for this lecture, we have changes in the nervous system due to aging. So we know that the reflex is slow. We know that there is some memory loss. Now, dementia is not a normal part of aging, but some memory loss is. There's a diminished sense of touch. There's hearing loss. And there's a sense of vision, smell, taste. The sense of vision, smell, and taste will weaken. Okay, check out the next video for disorders of the nervous system.